Hey everyone, how's it going? Today's replay was sent in by Seedeath of Esprit de Corps, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly because I actually had to put it into Google Translate, and that's what came out of it. So yeah, if I pronounce it incorrectly, I apologize. But anyways, Seedeath is going to start off the match by trying to spot the enemies leaving their spawn. Now there's a couple different positions you can actually do this from. Seedeath chose probably the safest of them. The other is you can sort of poke your front of your tank out of a bush a little bit further down the road, or you can go even further around that sort of S-curve, and it'll get you closer and allow you to spot enemy tanks a little easier, but it's a bit more exposed. I mean, there is a rock there, but sometimes it's kind of hard to get out of if you end up in trouble. But Seedeath decides just to go fight it out in the city now. And this is Lakeville Encounter, if I haven't already said that. And there's a bit of a funny thing with Lakeville. The map is slightly unbalanced and favors the southern team slightly because of the way the church is positioned. If you look at it, the front of it is slightly slanted towards the south. And what that means is that tanks like the ST-1 and E-100 on our team, the E-100 that just took 1,000 damage from the enemy Jagdpanzer E-100, can be shot from enemy tanks up in... well, it's hard to see on, on the second monitor where I have the video preview, but I think it's H4. Tank destroyers like to sit up there and shoot at the enemy tanks that locate along the side of the church. That is not mirrored on the northern side, so you can't actually shoot down onto enemy tanks from the north like you can from the south, which, like I said, makes the map a little unbalanced. The southern side has a slightly higher win rate than the north. But Seedeath is going to try his very hardest to beat the statistical odds and make this a victory. Now they are behind 2 tanks, and well, it was almost 5,000 HP, but now that lead has decreased slightly in Seedeath's team favor. Now it may look like the tank score is even at the moment, and it's an 11 versus 11 fight. However, Seedeath's team actually has a T-54E1 that either never loaded in or is AFK. I'm not sure if it displays in replays whether a player never loads in or not. When you're playing the game live, it'll show their name as sort of grayed out, but it's not the case in this replay, so I'm really not sure. He does come back, actually, and he starts making his way over now to the city. Unfortunately for Seedeath, the friendly Tiger 2 in front of him died in a terrible location. He's essentially giving the enemy tanks cover, as well as inadvertently blocking shots on the enemy tanks with his gun. Although it's always nice when the enemies come around and get themselves tracked and die. Hello, artillery. That was a nasty hit from the enemy GW Tiger P. Takes out Seedeath's ammo rack, gunner, and tracks him in place. So Seedeath has to burn his premium repair kit and his normal med kit to get himself back in action. And hello, random full health KV4. Nice of you to show up to the party. Unfortunately, that kind of limits Seedeath's options here. So he can't really go around and flank them too well without being exposed to the enemy KV4. Although he did just fire, thanks to T-54A1. And both already go for Seedeath. Which I guess is not that surprising. It was one of the few tanks that's actually not already safe. Nice shot into the E-50's Scapola, finishing him off. The enemy Jagdpanzer is on full health and decides to make a push against the friendly Centurion 7-1. So it looks like Seedeath is now able to counter push against the enemy Waffenträger Alpha 100 and the KV4. Waffenträger misses. Thank goodness. And the friendly Centurion 7/1 is just not able to backpedal fast enough to get away from the enemy Jagdpanzer. Although friendly artillery does finish off the enemy Waffenträger. Seedeath is rushing back to try and help out the 4A1, but it was not to be. And friendly artillery, while trying to take out the enemy KV4, barely misses team killing Seedeath. But now he can get some nice shots into the back of the enemy Jagdpanzer as he destroys the friendly artillery. I'm actually surprised that shot went into damage. And that was a heat round into the side, the front side hull of the enemy Jagdpanzer E100, which actually has quite a bit of spaced armor around the area where Seedeath hit. I guess it could be he hit slightly above where the spaced armor begins. And there's an enemy in the cap, so it's one of the enemy artillery. The Object 261 has a fairly shallow gun arc, but it reloads quite quickly. I think it has close to a 20-second reload, which is substantially better than most Tier 10 artillery. Seedeath really doesn't want to go out too far and expose himself to the enemy Jagdpanzer E100 or the enemy GW Tiger P, but he also wants to finish off that 261. And that's not something you want to see. I guess already took a really quick snapshot at Seedeath there, because the shell landed nowhere near him. Now Seedeath's just backpedaling as quickly as possible to get away from that giant 170mm gun. Now he's just looking for the best way to approach this situation, because he wants to be able to take on the enemy Jagdpanzer E100. Without without doing it frontally, and he wants to remain artillery safe as well. And that's going to be tricky. But the enemy Jagdpanzer E-100 has actually backed up out into the open, making Seedeath's attack a bit tricky here. But he decides to... Well, it looked like he was going to charge in after Seedeath, and... yeah, he's doing it now. Enemy artillery gets spotted, and Seedeath takes a few shots at it. Artillery misses, and Seedeath is able to now take his time and plant a shot right into the superstructure of the artillery piece, which forces him to back off. So now Seedeath can deal with this Jagdpanzer E-100, who he manages to track. And unfortunately, since all he has left is high explosive anti-tank and high explosive shells, shooting into the tracks will generally only just track the Jagdpanzer E-100, since tracks basically count as spaced armor as far as high explosive anti-tank rounds are concerned. And he's able to finish off the Jagdpanzer without taking any fire in return. But the enemy artillery just has to get lucky, and it could be all over for Seedeath. Now it's unlikely that the arty piece has gone very far. He's probably backing into a corner as we speak. We're trying to. Because it's not like he can outrun an Object 140, especially not if he tries to get away using the valley and its soft ground. Yep. And there we go. Kill number 7 for Seedeath. So, unsurprisingly, that was an ace tanker, a top gun, and a high caliber. So yeah, Seedeath did 6,979 damage, almost double that of the next highest damage dealing member of his team, and came away with a base experience of 1,313. Put in some really good work there in the city, and soloed a nearly full health enemy Jagdpanzer E-100, as well as 2 artillery pieces, who were quite skilled players to boot. Thank you, Seedeath, for sending in this replay. It was a pleasure to watch, and I do hope you'll continue sending in replays like this. Well done. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and maybe I will catch you next time. And until then, happy hunting.